Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is officially 1 p.m., actually after 1 p.m., almost at top of the hour. Look, force of habit. For those of you who are new onto our platform, welcome to the best tribe, if I have to say so, in the country. Welcome to #SecureTheGrad. And if you are a regular tribe, welcome back. It's good to have you on our platform. And let me start by introducing myself. I'm Evodia Mohanyane, and I'm your host for this webinar today. In fact, for most of the webinars. So if you're not used to this space, better get used to it because it brings all the hot things pertaining securing the grad and of course securing the bag. So for our last webinar, we've made sure that we bring out the hot guns. So all the smoky guns are with us today, people from industry, University of the Free State, and some of our alumni that were also students that once sat where you are sitting in your spot, whether you're joining us from the Kwakwa campus, Bloemfontein campus, South campus, or anywhere in the country, you are most welcome here on the platform. So before we get started, I just want to talk to you a little bit about our house rules so that we make sure that you have the best live experience this afternoon. So as you can notice, your microphone as well as your video has been deactivated if you're not a presenter. That's just to make sure that, you know, those microphone blips where you currently on the phone and talking to your friend does not spill over into the recording, because we will be recording and releasing this on our YouTube channel. For your convenience, of course. Now, in addition to that, our chat function has been enabled so that you can interact with us. We really encourage you this afternoon to drop in those Secure the Grad pearls of wisdom, or tell us if you're unsure about something, or if you just need to ask our super guests a question today. Please put it in the chat, interact with us, interact with the audience as well. This will lead us into our Q&A segment where you, our tribe, will have an opportunity to ask our guests any questions pertaining to career paths or anything about your studies on how to secure the grad and secure the bag. Now, what we also have in store for you, we know that we live in a country where there's load shedding, not at the University of the Free State, but we want to make sure that should you have load shedding or you run out of data or life just happens and you're not able to interact with us for the duration of the webinar, don't worry, we've got you. We will be recording this conversation and you can check out where to access it by following us on our #SecureTheGrad YouTube channel, or you can just go follow the conversation on Instagram. Just look for #SecureTheGrad. And if you're a University of the Free State student, you'll get access to these recordings on the Student Success Portal on Blackboard. So what can you expect today? Hot, relevant, and life-changing conversations. What you can also expect is as you interact with us, the crew in the background will be watching who's the best engager, who's the best conversationalist, and who is making use of this opportunity. We will be sharing prizes or announcing winners, the most engaged winners at the end of the webinar. So you want to make sure that you stick with us. As part of our culture of continuous improvement, we want to make sure whether this webinar was a hit or a miss. So we'll be dropping the feedback link in the chat. So look out for it and make sure that you complete to increase your chances of winning. We've brought in a new feature in our webinar. So we want to test the waters as we go. So now and then you will see a poll pop up on your screen. What you should just do is click the option that best represents your answers. The poll will be there for a duration of 60 seconds. So be alert and click on the option to make sure that we can capture your response. Now that we have that out of the way, please give me a nice emoji to tell us how you're feeling for today. So as you can see on the screen, these are our guests. And I'm going to ask them at this point to switch on their camera so that you can also see, man, it's a fired up lineup that we have there. We've got Lauren Westhuizen, who's the Assistant Director at the Center for Teaching and Learning. So some of you will know her from EDED. If you are a registered student, yeah, you'll also know her from UFSS and the Graduate Attributes Project. Lauren, welcome. We're looking forward to the conversation today. We also have Belinda Yannicke, who's the head of career services. Linda, absolutely love the hair color. I think it goes with the fire that is in the webinar today. Listen, you've got the memo. Welcome, Belinda. You are a regular here, and I'm sure the STG tribe is happy to see you again. The newbies that nobody has seen that are joining us for the first time in our season finale. We've got Tracy Apollos, who's from Michael and Susan Dell Foundation. She's sitting in Cape Town this afternoon. Welcome, Tracy, and I hope you're going to love the conversations with us today. And last but not least, KOFSI alumni and also director of Zobia Holdings, Ipileng Taye. Ipileng, welcome. Ipileng is also sitting in sunny Durban today. So ladies and gents, as you can see, we have them all from inland to the coast. And we are definitely here to please us, Secure the Grad. Now let's get the conversation on the road. So firstly, let us just kick off. At Secure the Grad, we don't talk to strangers. So our parents taught us not to talk to strangers, and we take that very serious. So just a little bit about, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself so that our audience can feel comfortable and ask questions later. Let's start with Tracy. Tracy, let's kick off with you a little bit about what do you do, who are you, what do you do, where you work, and you might tell us if you have a pet or not.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Like Evodia said, my name is Tracy Apollos, and I work in Cape Town at the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, which is a philanthropic organization. So we disperse grants and funding to organizations that do social good work. So in education, in healthcare, and in economic stability. So creating jobs, placing people in jobs and that sort of work. I'm a monitoring and evaluation specialist here at the foundation. So that is what I studied. I'm sorry, load shedding. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'm not moving around. Okay, there we go. No, I'm not moving around enough. As I mentioned, yes, I live in Cape Town. I studied at UCT because I grew up here and it was the most affordable thing to do. I could not afford res. I went to school before NSFAS was a thing, so it was very much scrimping and saving to get through. And to answer your question, yes, I do have a dog who lives with my parents because I live in a tiny apartment where I cannot have pets.
Tracy, what's your pet's name?
I've got a little dog named Soda.
I'm not going to, for the sake of the webinar, because, you know, we're talking about securing that bag, I'm not going to get into the dynamics of why you would name your pet Soda. But look, that's an interesting feature. I'm trying to get a pet for the second time, and I might put that name into the list and see how far I can go with the kids with that. Tracy, welcome. I think you have a very interesting story, just, you know, listening to your background, and I'm sure our audience and our students can definitely relate with some of it. So let's hold it there a little bit, and let's move on to the other coastal member in this team. Ipileng, welcome, and introduce yourself to our guest.
Good afternoon, everyone. So excited to be here. I think this feels like the biggest homecoming event ever for me. I'm really feeling at home. Thank you so much for having me. So by way of introduction, my name is Ipileng Ntaje. I am a mom, I'm a wife, just so that you know personally who I am. I actually met my husband on campus at GovSys, and we are now married 8 years, so we've got a lot to thank the university for. From that marriage, I've got two beautiful daughters, Zoe and Abia. And yeah, that's me basically from a personal perspective. Professionally, I am the founder and director of Zobia Holdings. That is the two names of my daughters combined. They are really the inspiration behind the business. So what we do is really all things marketing. We are a marketing agency that assists businesses to help develop creating their brands and walking the journey with them basically in terms of growing it and connecting them to their target audiences. So also a former marketing manager. I used to work for a financial institution as well. So my experience really ranges over a 13-year period, both marketing within the financial industry. Pets, definitely not. I am terrified, so keep them away from me. My kids are still negotiating and they are clearly not winning at this stage.
I must say, Ipileng, two things that we have in common. We must thank Kofsis for giving us husbands. I also met my husband on campus. So not just, ladies and gentlemen, you walk away with a degree, a job. You also walk away with a spouse, for those of you who are interested. I tried the pet route. It lasted for a year, but I had too much kids to take care of. So we had to give away our other children. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. I think your journey also from sitting in the same classroom as some of the people in our audience to one, founding your own company. I think those are quite big moves, and we definitely like to hear how you've navigated towards your current space. Now, let's go to Lauren, and let's end off with a fire lady. Lauren, welcome. Please introduce yourself to our guests.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Westhuizen. I did not meet my husband on campus. I met him at church, but he later became a Kofsi. So through me, he became a Kofsi. So I work at the Center for Teaching and Learning. I have been at the university working for 15 years now. I started off as a tutor. I am now in the management of the center as an assistant director. And I mainly work with success projects, student success projects. So focused on helping students transition into university, that's UFSS, be successful while they are at university. That's through the Graduate Attributes Project, the new digital skills learning pathway, and then also successfully transition into the world of work through EDD, as well as graduate attributes. Like Ipileng, I'm also a mom of two. We have a dog, Jackson. He used to be an outside dog, but in his old age, he has moved inside the house. I have since developed allergies, and the children are in love with our old man, Jackson, who is now also on arthritis medication. So that's the story over here. Thanks, Evodia.
Thanks, Lauren. So I must say, I like the name Jackson. It's named after Michael. I said I'm not going to go into the pet's name. So let me just stop there because we're going to jump into a different tangent today. Lauren, again, exciting. I personally know your journey, and I think I've shared your journey with you. And I absolutely think that it's one of the journeys that turned out different, and I definitely want to hear about it. And I hope our audience can also relate to that. Last but not least, Head of Career Services, Belinda, over to you.
Thank you, Evodia. Hello, everybody. Such a nice privilege again to be on this platform, so thank you for having me. 2023 is my 23rd year of being in the world of work. I started to work when I was a first-year student as well. So I feel part of the furniture. I don't feel like the furniture, but I am part of the furniture of this campus. I think I'm definitely not the poster child for having my career path, sort of like set out for me. So I've jumped between various degrees and various jobs, but I believe that I'm now, as the head of career services, I'm truly where my passion is. So mainly career services are there to assist students to become more employable. And my passion specifically is to help students, because I didn't have that assistance of having a career advisor helping me to figure out my pathway, my own career pathway. And it's only now, recently, that I figured out, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. And that's why I'm still studying. So rather go to a career advisor and get that sorted out. Ipileng said that she was terrified of dogs or pets in general. I'm terrified of kids, so I don't have those, but I have 3 pets. My 3 dogs, and they are my.
So I'm being reprimanded in the chat. Can you believe it that we have turned this into a marriage seminar? So with that being said, thank you, Belinda, for refocusing the conversation this afternoon and steering it into the right direction about getting a career advisor. I think with that, we'll segue into the core of our discussion today. And I'm going to pick up the conversation with you, Ipileng. You've studied at the University of the Free State, as you mentioned in your introduction. I want you maybe to speak to us a little bit about what you studied, and then take us into how your career then started from there onwards.
Sure. So I studied a BA degree in integrated marketing and communications. It was a 3-year degree. So did that, and then I was studying full time, of which afterwards I then moved into my honors degree in business management. So I think the journey was quite interesting. Came in first year. Second year, I was blessed enough to get a bursary as well. That was made possible through the university also. So I got, my tuition fees, studies, foods, and all of that were covered, which really made life a little bit easier. I also got my first job on campus, where I was a data capturer as well. So in between classes, I would go in there, earn a little bit of income while gaining the experience as well. Third year, big highlight also, got nominated as a residence committee member. So I was quite busy during my undergraduate studies, where I got to manage and lead basically the first years. And that really taught me a lot as well in terms of the various skills that I'm actually still implementing today. Fast forward, I got, at the end of my studies, got an opportunity to apply for a graduate program. So I got into that. That was an excellent opportunity for me as well. So I did that while I was studying as well in continuing with my honors degree. So I did the honors then in business management, and then really got to understand what the dynamics of working and studying at the same time. And I think that was a great journey for me that I enjoyed, and completed all of that by 2010.
Very interesting. I think by the sound of things, one would ask, it almost sounds like you had the perfect journey as a student. Didn't even have to wait for a job. It's like the job came looking for you. Just want to ask you, Ipileng, thinking back about your days as a student and how your career started, would you say this was like your plan A? So what you started working towards, or getting into your job and your studies, was that your plan A?
Evodia, this is so funny because I actually don't feel like I had a plan, to be honest, in terms of my career. I remember having to choose, I think, grade 11, grade 12, needing to decide what am I going to study, trying to think about it. And one day I attended a career fair where they were talking about the different modules and courses that are available. So I knew that I wanted a job where I'll be in an office. I wanted to have an office. Generations was a hit at the time. The script was about advertising agencies. And I'm like, this is definitely the one. So when they said marketing and they mentioned office and I pictured Generations, I was like, I'm going for this one. I've never looked back since. I think I enjoyed it so much, where I studied that and was fortunate enough to sort of land in there. I didn't really immediately get into a marketing space because I had to start, in a branch setup so that I can fully understand what banking is all about. But because I knew that this is something I wanted to do, I, structured my conversations internally, steering it towards the marketing department until I eventually got in there as like an intern, did all the weird things, but I made sure that I did it well so that when the opportunity did present itself, that I was ready and already known within the department.
I think you're highlighting for me some key elements there around, what you started picking up. And I think we're going to circle back to that in a moment. So one of the things, Ipileng, that I'm sort of picking up from your story, it's almost like regardless of where you were in your career, you always had the North Star ahead of you. And guys, SOPs are not bad. it gave Ipileng an idea of what she wants to do when she works. So we thank Generations for that, to imply, I think, in very, very interesting story. We will be circling back to you in a moment. Tracy, I think just latching on to Ipileng's story, I know you also studied a humanities degree. Can you take us a little bit through your journey? Has it been as almost linear as Ipileng's journey?
I think I'm the exact opposite of Ipileng's story. So when I was finishing high school, I started working at Pick n Pay on the weekends because I needed extra money. Things were a little bit tight at home. And I only had two thoughts. Well, three thoughts. One, I don't want to work at Pick n Pay for the rest of my life, so I really do need to go to university. But I didn't have an idea or put together sort of what I'm going to study and what my opportunities will be once I graduate. So I really focused on things that I was interested in doing, which was political science and philosophy. And then when I got to university, I found that I didn't quite like philosophy. I switched to sociology. And that was my undergrad, but that still, it was things I was interested in, but I didn't quite know what that job would look like. So when I graduated with my undergrad, the only thing I could do was study further because I had no clue. And then I did an honors degree in diversity studies, which is in sociology. And when I graduated from that, I thought, okay, I need to go work now. And I'd been working part-time the entire time. So I did an internship at a nonprofit, and that sort of started my journey in nonprofits. Worked for Sonke Gender Justice, which is a gender-based organization. And from there, I moved over to Equal Education, where I worked for a number of years. And that was where I started working in data, even though I had no formal training and never done statistics or anything like that. And at Equal Education, I saw, oh, wait, monitoring and evaluation, that's something, we're doing all these activities, we're taking up young people's time and trying to teach them things, but are they learning? Is it working? Does it make a difference in their lives? And that's really what monitoring and evaluation tries to find out. What is the ultimate outcome and how does that hopefully positively impact the beneficiary's life? So I looked into, okay, how can I be in this space? How can I learn more? And I found a 1-year master's course, which was what I wanted to do. There was no way I could do 2 more years of studying. I just couldn't. So I enrolled in that. I had to change jobs. I didn't have a car at the time. And if you know Cape Town, Equal Education is based in Khayelitsha. And UCT is on the mountain. So if you don't have a car, it's not going to work. So I moved to a job that was closer. I started working in research consulting. I had a slight sort of academic research background, so I could leverage that, and studied at night. And it was really there that I was exposed to data analysis, to statistical methods, but that was like 6-month course. So everything that I do now, I've taught myself. There's always someone on YouTube ready to teach you. LinkedIn Learning, that was really how I sort of became confident in what I do beyond just doing my master's. So long story short, I had no idea. I figured it out along the way and just kind of figured out, okay, what do I want to do? I want to help people. I don't want to be a teacher. My mother was a teacher for 40 years. I could never do that. And this is where I find myself now.
A very, very interesting journey. So we work with the tutorial program that we're running, and I think many of our student engagements, we hear very similar stories to what you've just highlighted, Tracy, around particular humanities students. If you are here, tell me or share with me if I'm telling the truth. A lot of our humanities students will tell you that I have no clue what I want to do, especially since all you hear is fourth industrial revolution. Everybody's looking for analytical skills and an IT degree or a statistics degree. Tracy, with that being said, I almost want to ask, or what I'm picking up from your story as well, is that there's a lot of self-taught or self-education rather that has taken place with you. How did you make that shift? How did you realize that gap for yourself when thinking about your career?
So one of the things that I was able to rely on when I went to Equal Education was when I was in high school, we had computer literacy, I guess, as a subject. And our teacher never gave us free time on the internet. Internet was all very new at the time. So she drilled Excel into us. So by the time I was in university and when I was looking for work, I had a decent proficiency in Excel. I could use a lot more of the advanced formulas. I understood a lot of that work, and I relied on that a lot when I started working. And as I was in the workspace, I remember when I started at Equal Education, we were just working, doing database work off Excel spreadsheets, which is a disastrous way to work. And then we transitioned into having someone come in and build a database for us. So through that process, I learned, okay, I need to understand logic. I need to understand how to run algorithms, how to run equations. And through that experience, I sort of taught myself. And I just continue to do that. I've been quite lucky that because I show almost a willing attitude to learn new things, my answer is always, well, I don't know, but I can figure it out. I've been given opportunities. So at other, I worked at another place called South African Education Project, also a nonprofit, and they use Salesforce, which is a cloud-based database system. And when I interviewed, they asked me, had you heard of it? I said no, but by the time I left, I was the administrator building the system. So being willing to learn things, being willing to get things wrong, and finding a new source to teach you was really what kept me going.
Very, very interesting. And I'm sort of looking at Lauren and Belinda in their camera screens, because I can see how they want to latch onto this conversation at this point. Hold your horses, ladies. I quickly want to move back to you, Ipileng. I think there is a connection between what you've studied and what you ended up doing in the world of work. One of the questions I maybe want to ask you is how much of what you did in your studies, university studies, did you take into the world of work, and at what point did you have to self-educate?
So I think I literally took in most of the things, because what I loved about my degree is how practical it was in terms of the content that was shared. So the moment I stepped into the work environment, it was sort of joining the dots or connecting the dots in terms of the theory that was there and sort of putting it into practice. Of course, it doesn't always go, word for word or chapter per chapter. Some dot is in like 3 years' time, another one is now, but it's really been helpful in that sense. I think what it also assisted with is the analytical thinking of the way of doing things, just not looking at it at face value, but to actually apply your mind and see how does this incorporate into what I am busy working with now. So it's a balancing act as well, because in as much as you do have the qualification and the degree, you are getting into a new space altogether that you know nothing of, and self-development is key. You need to thoroughly understand the sector or the industry that you are based in, because remember, my degree is a BA degree. I was actually shocked when I got a job in the financial institution, because the first requirement was to have a BCom degree, which I did not have. So just self-development in that sense, to say, how do I gain the accounting background? How do I bring in the financial management so that when I'm sitting in meetings, it is not all foreign to me, that I have the broader picture of the industry while also bringing in my, specialist knowledge from a marketing and comms perspective.
Very, very interesting. And at this point, I almost want to pull in Belinda also into the conversation. Belinda, before we speak about what career services can help our students with at this point, I think you have a very interesting personal story around how you navigated your studies, the multiple qualifications that you've obtained, and then ultimately feeling, this is what I want to do. Can you share a little bit about your academic journey and why it has taken the shape and form that it's taken thus far?
I one day I'm going to write a book about this, because it's such a long story, but I'm going to summarize this. But really, I didn't have a plan after school. After school, I wanted to do drama, and my 2 divorced parents agreed about one thing in life, and that was she will not do drama. And I had to make a decision in 5 minutes. And for me, it was humanities. Humanities sounded like, oh, I can be creative in that space. The others was sort of like feeling, almost like there's no room for creativity and so on. I was always, in the back of my head, I was always sitting with psychology in the back of my head. But for me, just coming out of school, I sort of like just, sort of just put that under the rocks for myself. And I was just like, no, I think I've got enough issues for myself. Like, I'm not going to do this for other people. How can I sort out other people's issues if I can't even sort out my own life? And I think I was literally jumping just from one thing to another thing. Not every 2 months or 3 months. I did stick at least 1-2 years sometimes in certain positions. But for me, it started to narrow down because of work experience. The more work experience I gained, the more I started to realize and become self-aware of what do I like and what do I dislike. Where can I see myself spending a lot of time in and where not. And eventually, and I've heard this from all the people when I was younger, where they say to you, it's not about the money. And when you're 20, you're like, whatever, lady, what are you talking about? But when you become my age, at some stage, it's really not about the money. It's I want to spend my time in an area of passion. Because then no matter what life throws at you, how difficult your tasks at work becomes, how overloaded you almost become, because you have passion, you will just pull through. It doesn't take you down to the ground as well. So a lot of qualifications and all of that in between, but I was also, again, and I think this is the one thing that I usually try to get across to students as well, because I didn't have a plan, I was opting for all these things. I was doing any kind of job that somebody throws at me. If there was a training course or something, and we didn't have LinkedIn Learning at that stage when I was a student, but I would go for it. If there was some workshop on campus, I will go for it. But then you are all over the show. It did help me, but it was beneficial. But I think if you have a plan and you know what your skills gap is and you know what career you are aiming for, there will be less noise. But that's a summary of it.
Very interesting that sometimes one gets to, you don't have the plan immediately, and sort of it comes as you find out, I don't like this, I actually like this, I don't like this, I actually like this. And I think, Lauren, it's very similar to us that work in teaching and learning. By the way, did you know as an audience that you don't necessarily have apologies for that? That's what happens if all your devices are connected. Let me just put my phone on flight mode so that my laptop, my phone, and my PC don't ring at the same time. All right, back to the conversation. So what I was actually saying is that you don't really have a particular study direction to do the type of work that we do. So I have a degree in statistics and economics with business management undergrad and business management in honors. And I'm trying to do a very tricky master's at this point. And let me tell you, I work in teaching and learning. And I think maybe I'm one of the lucky ones that always thought they knew what they wanted to do. If there's one thing I knew, Ipileng, very similar to you, I always knew that I wanted to be the boss. Sounds like I just want to be the boss. In the audience, please help me out if you know that you want to be the boss. Maybe not really the boss, but I always knew that I want to be in leadership. I love working with other people. I like helping people discover their passion or discover what they're good at, and any job that will allow me to bring some business and statistics and good negotiation, I'm always up for it, and a lot of talking. So if I can talk in my job, I'm at my most happiest. And I think I must say I have found that job. Lauren, maybe let's switch over to you. I know this is not part of the brief, but I know that in your first year, you were a medicine student. What necessitated the change?
So I was one of those students where your parents and your aunts and uncles and everyone that you know goes, you're so smart, you should be a doctor or a lawyer, right? So it eventually gets so drilled into your head that there aren't any other options. I had always loved teaching from a young age. I would study I mean, in primary school by teaching my stuffed animals. Back then, you know, when discipline looked different, I would stand with a ruler and teach them. So, because that's how we were taught in primary school. And it wasn't an option. My parents said my dad actually is a teacher and went into the FET sector. My mother had always wanted to teach, but hadn't had the opportunity, and she went into secretarial work. But they both said teaching is not an option because it's not going to allow you to do what you want to do financially. They had struggled a lot growing up, and both of them, when we were growing up, worked 2 jobs for us to have the opportunity. So they were just like, you're not going to be in this position. You need to study something that's going to give you money. And that was the focus. So I did a year and a half of medicine, and then I had to go and tell my parents, this is not for me. I can't see myself doing this. It's interesting to me, you know. I watched The Good Doctor on Netflix. It's great, but this was not going to be my lifestyle. I had spent time in hospitals. There was no passion there. And they said, okay, what do you want to do? And then because I couldn't be a teacher, I said, I'm going to be a motivational speaker. Now, this did not go down particularly well with my parents, as you can imagine. We're like, that's even worse. It's like you're saying you want to be an artist. They're just like, no. Musician was already out of the door, though. That's a side kind of passion that I enjoy. So anyway, long story short, I thought if I want to be a motivational speaker, I need to understand how people work and how they think and why they behave the way they do. So I'm going to study psychology. And when I started studying in about my second year, my parents also had a kind of a rule that I needed to get distinctions only in order to continue studying in the Free State. I'm from the Eastern Cape. So they said, fine, you can change your degree, but if you don't get distinctions only, you're coming home. I was like, you're 40. No. So I'm so sorry to anyone on YouTube. It was how I felt at the time. As a 19-year-old, let me make that very clear. So, and also I didn't necessarily want to study at home. Long story short, I worked hard. I got distinctions. And with that, I actually earned a merit bursary. And that went a long way towards paying my studies. And then I was doing relatively well with my B Social Sciences degree. And honestly, I wanted additional income. My parents were really limiting me because of my choice to stay here. So it was, you know, they paid accommodation and it was very, very limited. And so I wanted to find a job. And I knew the only way at that time to get a job was to get noticed. And so I put up my hand in every single class and asked questions and answered questions because my classes were large, 1,000 students in a class, until lecturers started knowing my name. And one day, the head of the sociology department asked lecturers if they knew of a student who was interested in a research internship. And that's how I got my first kind of formal job. Before that, I had tutored with Evodia way back when. And then I became a research intern. At one point, while I was studying, I think in my honors year, I actually had 3 jobs. I was a tutor, I was a research intern, and I did 5 hours a week as a research assistant to a PhD candidate at the time, because I wanted to become more and more independent. And while I was doing all of that, I realized, and this is what's interesting and what I'm seeing in the chat as well, is you figure yourself out as you go along. I had no idea that I was good at writing and doing research. I'd always thought I'm good at speaking. And so I was interested in something oratory, like teaching, and I'm good at relaying a message. So I wanted to teach, but I didn't know I could do data. And with my research internship, I did a lot of statistics. And at the time, we had statistics in our 3rd year of the BSOC I actually got 97% for that module because I was doing statistics every single day. So just a hint for everyone that is attending, practice makes perfect. If you want to do well in any of your subjects, do it as a job. Do it every day. You'll do well. And I did quite well in my honors year as well with the statistics. And so I decided to pursue research. and went into that and continued with that at the Center for Teaching and Learning, and eventually found my way into using research to help students, and walked into project management and leadership and people management. And that's where I am now. So in my daily job, I do a bit of project management, a bit of people management, write reports and proposals, webinars, workshops. I teach lecturers how to teach. I teach students how to learn. So I get to teach, guys. I get to teach. Eventually your passion will come to fruition if you keep at it.
And Lauren, I think I almost wanted to jump in there and say, look at you teaching. It always sort of come through right at the end. And while we're talking about, sort of figuring it out as you go, Lauren, thinking about your own journey, and I mean, you've been working now for over 15 years. When and how would you say one needs to start planning their career?
So many students, and I feel this is almost a post-pandemic as well, kind of realization or sense that I'm getting from students is, let me just get over the next hurdle. Let me just do the thing that's right in front of me, which is my degree, and get that. And when I'm done with that, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out where I need to go. And I saw some chats that go, okay, but then you study further because you haven't figured it out. And then you study some more, and then you study some more. At some point, you've got to start working. And so for me, career planning starts in your first year. It starts then already with having conversations, like Belinda said, with career advisors, and making the right kinds of choices around what you are studying, and in which direction you are going. I'm not saying change a degree in your first year. I'm just saying figure out how what you're studying links to a possible and potential future. And while you're doing that work, while I was a first year, I did holiday jobs, I waitressed, I was an exam department assistant helping with the matric marks. I always worked. At one stage, I worked at a recruitment agency during a holiday. It's making me think of Tracy's story. Tracy, they had printed CVs and I needed to put that into a database. So thank you, Excel skills. So I built that database with him. I think I was a second-year student over my December holidays. So as you're doing that, it's not just professional development, it's personal development, and you're figuring yourself out. You don't need to work during the semester if you find it's just too hard to balance your time. I understand how overwhelmed you are, but get holiday jobs. If, however, you find yourself in the position to be able to manage your time, you can get a student assistant job on campus for 12 hours a week, a tutor for less hours a week, I believe. You just need to do well in your studies to be able to qualify for some of these. And I say you just need to do. I understand these things take time, they take effort, but my suggestion for planning your career and developing it and working towards it is to start from your first year. It is the most time, believe it or not, in your undergraduate space that you will ever have to work on yourself and learn about yourself and learn about your skill set, so that you can understand, where do I need to upskill and where do I need to develop myself further. So you have to start now, because when you are already qualified and you've got nothing on your CV, you're on the back foot, and you've got to then figure out how you're going to get experience.
Lauren, thank you so much for highlighting, I think, those critical points about, as the earlier you start, the better your chances of success. And we're going to circle back to, and maybe there's a question I want you to think about as we speak to some of our guests as well. How does one ultimately piece all these experiences together and display it for a potential employer or a potential funder for those of our students who want to become entrepreneurs? So let's park that for now and we'll circle back to it. Maybe I almost want to go back to Belinda, but any of our speakers at this point that maybe want to, weigh into this conversation, thinking about your own personal journey. When did you start sort of planning things together? And, is it late? Because I'm sort of seeing a bit of anxiety building with some of the chats, students who are in their final year and thinking, oh my gosh, I have not thought of my career. Is it too late? Any one of you can jump into the conversation at this point. Maybe let's ask Belinda. Or Ifileng. Okay, Ifileng, go for it.
No problem. So I think it's never too late, Evodia. You know, I love what Lauren has just said now also in terms of being busy now while you are studying, because you don't want to leave it until graduation day and then it's like, oh, what now, you know? So, and it's not even really about getting a hectic job that is going to require you know, large amount of time from you. But if, for instance, you are studying a marketing and communications degree, look around you, around your communities. You know, there are a whole lot of small businesses that you can offer your services to. You know, there's your chisanyamas, there's your car wash or a tuck shop. Approach the business owner and say, you know, as part of my experiential learning, I would actually love to use your brand and your business as a case study that I can work on to know, you know, come up with a strategic marketing plan for you, execute for you know, the various elements that I think can help you grow your business. If they don't have a social media platform, create one for them. And after the year or two, however long you are, it's actually a profile that you will have to show employers that I've actually developed a brand. This is the journey I've walked with the business owner. From 0 followers, they are now sitting at 2,000 followers. I've used my networks, you know, from my IT friends or students in other departments. We are now actually working on an app for this tuck shop where the community can order, and then we can also eventually start delivering to them, which is also growing the economy, because now it means more employment. You know, for the young man who's there, who doesn't have a job, he can now start driving around in a little scooter and delivering goods to the community. So, I mean, already if an employer looks at that CV, it already jumps and stands out, because it shows that this is a go-getter, you know, this is a leader, this is somebody who hasn't just been sitting and waiting for a job, but they actually created a job. This also speaks to entrepreneurship, because it is a gap that you're identifying and can actually run with that as a business model and dwell more into that. Versus going to seek employment. You can actually be the one creating employment.
I think that's brilliant. Looking at our national stats around unemployment, you know, over just breaking it down into the different categories, we are seeing that as a country, I think these were the third quarter 2022 stats, that over 51% of those who fall under the category of don't have a matric are unemployed. And I think around 38%, if you have a matric, that's the unemployment rate. And if you're currently registered in a higher education institution, it moves down to around 17 to 7%. But for those of you who have a qualification, so you have a degree and you are categorized as a graduate, you understand that the unemployment stats as of last year was sitting around 2.7% for this group. And that's the group that has joined this webinar, and hopefully those of you who are watching on our YouTube channel. So what this essentially means is that you already stand a better chance of being employed compared to the rest of the population that is employable in our country. And I almost want to, with that, speak a little bit to you, Belinda, around, let's say I'm a law student joining this conversation, and I am interested in technology, but my degree does not offer any IT modules or anything to do with coding, and my ideal job is sitting in the IT industry. What can students do to fill that gap in between?
Yeah, Evodia, that's so easy. It's upskilling and reskilling yourself, you know, and aiming for whatever it is then that you are picking up in your industry. So the answer there, and especially for our students, because it's for free, mahala, gratis, is LinkedIn Learning. You've got access to it. LinkedIn Learning gives you an opportunity to complete a course within a specific area or that skill that you want to develop. You complete assessments as well, and it's not intense assessments. It's really just to know whether you'd really know what's happening there. And then you get your certificate, which can be pulled through to your LinkedIn profile as well. And you need to know what's happening just in the industry in general. And luckily, you've got a career services. And we can also, it's again, when you see a career advisor, they can also highlight to you what is sort of like the skills needed within a specific industry. Something just like one example, for instance, is the word work ethics. We all know what work ethics is, and you will sort of like insert that in your LinkedIn profile or on your CV to say, yes, I've got work ethics. But the lingo that you actually should work exactly the same meaning is business acumen, for instance. But that we are picking up because we are checking as career services, we are checking LinkedIn and we know what the industry is looking for. So those tweaks and things like that, don't try to do these things by yourself. We've got a whole support system.
I think that's great, Brenda. One of the things that university has done, and I think Ipileng and Lauren that are COFC alumni would know that back in our days, once you're done with your degree or while you're completing your degree, you had to do job hunting all by yourself. And that sort of speaks to that 2.7% of graduates that are unemployed. And, I've spoken to a few students and man, they are panicking around how do I even start job hunting? How do I know which companies exist that are hiring for the skills that I have or in line with the degree that I've studied? Your office has recently employed a number of placement officers. Can you tell us a little bit about what do placement officers do and how can they help the students?
Yes, Ibadan, we are very excited about that. So the placement officer's role is to connect our students to job opportunities. So we are also trying to at least show students how to do that themselves as well, like how to go and do job hunting yourself, networking with people and so on. But our placement officers, if you have done a CV, a cover letter, a LinkedIn profile that has been reviewed by our office, and you come for a mock interview, and we also then do a career development program with you, or at least then a career advising session. If those 5 things have been checked with us, we know that you are a candidate that we can put in front of an employer because you will have a very good reputation, because we have checked everything and that your CV is aligned with the industry and all of those things. So then the placement officers takes those students and they start to connect them to companies to say, listen, we've got these students, they are looking for jobs, and then, basically get students jobs, or at least assist in that process as well. But it's very exciting and we're going to get more placement officers eventually. So there's a lot of room for a lot of things just to happen. And I've been sharing something in the chat rooms as well about new things coming up. I will just never stop talking about all the new things and all the excitement and all the support, which I wish I had as a student. So
Tracy, I'm going to bring you into the conversation at this point as well. You spoke about part of what you do in your organization is also to link people up with employment opportunities. And you guys do a lot of research also in terms of what are the trends looking like, where are the gaps in terms of connecting people to opportunities. I want to maybe ask you, with your experience and working with various people, what would you say are some of the shortcomings that our graduates present in terms of trying to match a graduate and employment opportunity?
Sure. So I'm going to speak mostly to my experience on this. But one of the things that I've sort of noticed in all my years of working is that graduates are really scared to try new things, really scared to fail, really scared that if they try something and it doesn't work well, they're going to lose their job. And it's really not true. Your manager, your team, everyone around you is really there to support you, really there to give you opportunities to see how you grow. And that's really what you should take from it. If you can find an opportunity, something that you're interested in doing, if you let them know, they will support you to become better. And not for nothing, logistically, losing an employee and having to rehire is a lot of work. So often employers really want to upskill the people that they have on their team, and you just need to be open to it. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I've seen. And people are also scared to apply for jobs that aren't directly related to the name of their degree. So in humanities specifically, and I saw this in the chat as well, people are asking about being sociologists, being anthropologists, and those are not jobs that we see. But what you need to do is take the skills that you have and figure out, okay, what did I learn through this degree? What are the key skills? So in sociology, it really is social research. It really is understanding if you're doing primary research, you're doing interviews, you're doing surveys, that's what you're bringing to the table. So what jobs are looking for those skills? Don't look at the name. Don't be thrown off by that, because we do have very general degrees. And that's great because we have flexibility. We know how to research. We know how to create arguments. We know how to be succinct, how to communicate. That's what we have. We have critical thinking skills. I spoke to a colleague of mine who did engineering, and she said she can't write more than 5 pages. I was like, we wrote 20 pages in 2 nights. What are you talking about? Like, we knock that out so quickly. And that's a really valuable skill that humanities students have that others don't have. So I think my big answer to your question is don't be scared. The worst someone can say to you is no, but chances are they're going to say yes.
It's like you have been part of the tribe already. So one of our slogans here at SecureTheGrad is shoot your shot. So in essence, what Tracy's saying, go shoot your shot. And I think, so you're just looking a little bit at research as well and bringing that in. We know that from quite a number of case studies that have been done by McKinsey, and I'm trying to think at the top of my head, I know the McKinsey as well as LinkedIn as well. There are a couple of studies that they've done that show in terms of the differences between men and women and when it comes to applying for jobs. So one of the outcomes of the studies show that men tend to shoot their shot more compared to women. And one of the factors that they looked at is if the job requirements say you must be able to speak French and or English, what most of the male applicants would do, even if they do not speak fluent French, they will apply for the job anyway because they understand basic French, or they use Duolingo and they can say 5 things from Duolingo. But compared to the female counterparts that have applied for the same job, or when they ask females, why did you not apply for this job? Some of the common answers are, I do not know how to fluently speak French. And if you look at the job advert, it did not say fluently converse in French. It just said, these are some of the recommended attributes that they were, skills and attributes that we're looking for. So quite interesting around how you can see similar trends with our young people. Now, Lauren, I want to pull you into the conversation here, particularly around the work that you're doing in the EDED module. So if our students are sitting here and they're saying, look, I don't have work experience and I don't know how to showcase that I have done a course on LinkedIn Learning, or in my spare time, as Ipileng said, I've developed a social media campaign for one of the businesses down the street for me. How can EDED help our students to package that in such a way that it's attractive for a potential employer or a potential funder?
Thanks so much, Ivoda. So I've prepared a short presentation. Is it all right if I share that with students and then it kind of packages everything, because there's been a few questions about EDED?
I think that will drive the message home much quicker. Go for it, Lauren.
Great. Thank you so much. Just give me a second or two.
So while Lauren is displaying, I want to encourage that you start putting your questions as well in the chat. And thank you for those who have been proactive and chatting with our guest speakers so far. Remember that we will be doing a giveaway later, and interact in our polls as it comes on your screen.
Thank you so much, Ivoda. I just want to check if the screen is visible. Fantastic. All right. So EDED is a module that we offer at the university. You've got our contact details on the screen. Alexandro is the coordinator of the module, and I believe he is in the chat as well. It is called Enterprising Your Degree, ePortfolio Development. So that's what the EDED stands for. So I'm going to talk to you very quickly about what this is, how does it enhance your employability, what is the student experience, because we started running this last year already. What are students saying about EDD, and what are kind of the typical FAQs which I've seen have popped up as well. So this is a capstone module. It is pitched at NQF level 7. It's for final year undergraduate students. So if you are a 3rd year student at NQF level 7, or a 4th year, or even a postgraduate student, then you qualify to register for the module. It is an optional module, so you need to be registered either as a full-time or at least an occasional study student undergrad or postgrad. It is 8 credits, it is credit bearing, but it does not impede or impact your graduation. In other words, if you were to register for the module and maybe not pass it due to whatever reason, it's not going to hold you back from graduating. But we did want it to be credit bearing because it has assessments in it, and so that you can also showcase that on your academic record. However, it is free. So this module costs 2,500 Rand, and that amount will appear on your tuition fees. Anyone studying any form of accounting, you will understand that for auditing purposes, free is not actually free. What we do then is discount or credit you the 2,500 Rand, so you don't need to pay that out of pocket. We have grant funding that pays that for you. So the module codes are 3712, that's for the first semester, and 3722 for the second semester. These are equivalents. We still have space for EDED 3722. All you need to do is send us an email at eded@ufs.ac.za, and we will help you to register for it. The way that we offer the classes is through a summer or winter school. For 3722, it's a winter school. There's face-to-face class attendance on the Bloemfontein and the Kwakwa campus. It's 2 to 2.5 days of classes. That's it. We get through all of the content. We start some of the assessments already, and then you can continue to submit the assessments throughout the semester, because we were being cognizant there of what your academic load looks like during the semester, and also making sure that we don't clash with any of your classes. All right, so this is just, I'm not going to talk through all of this, but just so that you know what is in the module, we help you to reflect on the skills that you have. So that's the first response to your question, Evodia, is it's important that students take stock of their skills, and oftentimes you don't have those moments of reflection where you just go, what have I actually achieved as a student? If I were to pen down all of my achievements over the years, it's not just about awards and certificates, it's about competencies and skills development. What are you walking away with when you walk away with that piece of paper? And in EDED, we help you to do that. We help you to also reflect on the development of graduate attributes. The UFS has a couple there, the key competencies and skills that employers are looking for. And we teach you, how do you say, I'm an accountant who can solve problems? How do you, like Tracy so eloquently put it, say, I'm a humanities student who can knock out 20 pages in 2 nights. In other words, I have the ability to write. I have the skill of written communication. How do you say, like Ippeling, I can deliver a marketing pitch, which means I can think critically. I'm a problem solver. I have an entrepreneurial mindset, and I have the ability to speak and do so eloquently, to articulate myself clearly. How do you do that? In EDED, we teach you that, and that prepares you for interviews, to be able to give interviewers real examples of what you have done, not what you are going to do. Because we can only trust past behavior, right? Psychology graduate over here, past behavior predicts future behavior. We can trust past behavior. So you must tell me what you have done. What skills have you acquired? What examples can you give me? How do you show me through your group work projects that you have an entrepreneurial mindset, that you know how to think, that you can speak, that you can write, etc.? And that's what all employers are looking for. We help you to put together a stellar LinkedIn profile. You would have started that in UFSS and continued that work through the career services offerings from Belinda's office. And so we help you to polish that a little bit. And then we've got our exploratory portfolio. Many students have found this quite exciting. We actually help you to populate your own website. That can be a portfolio of evidence for yourself, or perhaps for your side hustle. I've got a little side hustle that I run, and I'm busy putting together a nice website with all the pictures of my products over there. So that's something, a skill also, that a certificate is not enough to actually be evidence of that kind of skill. If you were to put that website, a link to that website, a link to your LinkedIn profile on your CV, then the employer is sitting with so much more information about you and evidence about your skill set that immediately pushes you up. to the shortlist. We also help you to finalize your CV and see that as an application for a job. Please don't do generic CVs, but the person that will really preach wonderfully about this is Belinda. And then we also help you with your future work plan. So what happens if you don't get plan A or plan B or plan C? I think we've all spoken a little bit about that. How do you develop that resilience and tenacity and just keep going? How do you use the skill sets that you have to perhaps forge something else for yourself? So that's what we do in EDED. Now, I'm not going to repeat this. Evodia has shared the youth unemployment rates in South Africa, with the rates of graduates being substantially lower. At the University of the Free State, we want our graduates to compete globally. That's what Vision 130 is all about. Have a look at it on the university's website. But we want to know, as much as we are helping our lecturers and at the university, we are working really hard to integrate all of these attributes, these graduate attributes, into our curriculum. How do our students portray that? What evidence do you have? EDED is the space where we teach you how to articulate your skills and market yourselves to employers, to funders, and even to peers. Now, students last year told us that they found EDED incredibly beneficial. This was as a result of updating their LinkedIn profile, reflecting on themselves, taking stock of their skills, learning about what recruiters look for when they shortlist candidates, writing about their graduate attribute development, writing a CV to apply for a job, populating a website, working on their future work plan, etc. And on a scale from 0 to 10, 82% of our students, so 8 out of 10 students, are likely to recommend this module to other students. I'm going to share these slides with the SecureTheGrad team, and they can share it with you as well. But I'm just going to highlight a couple of things here. This is some of our qualitative research with students in focus groups, where they said that for them, the value really here was the LinkedIn portfolio, because I've actually gotten interest from recruiters calling me and telling me that when I'm done with my studies, they're interested in me. I'm in contact with other PhD students or professors from other universities through LinkedIn for collaborations. Having a website goes beyond just having a personal brand. I can utilize it for business purposes or even just to share my research, right? We all know that we live in a world today where being able to share your skills with others is how you get ahead, right? Here, a student found that their chosen career does not really align with their interests, with their abilities, and their goals. So that work plan was a space for them to reflect and to regroup and to think of, okay, what's next for me? And you then get referred to the appropriate spaces. There's more here where students just said, I used to write the CV the old way, that one that looks like it's been faxed from the 1990s. Please don't do that CV, okay? Come to EDD. Let us help you to clean that up and make something aesthetically pleasing that also aligns really well with the job advert. Frequently asked questions: who can register for this module? Final years and postgrads. How do you register? Email us. We will give you a form to fill in, or come to our information tables, which is on campus face-to-face once a week. You do not need to pay for this module for this year, and for next year, you will not if you fail the module, it will not prevent you from graduating. Our classes are conducted face-to-face, but we also have an asynchronous online offering where you can catch up or go through anything you might have missed. It's a semester module, and the next opportunity for you to register is now. So please contact us. We've got space in our June winter school as well as in our July winter school. And that's my story. Thank you so much, Evodia.
Thank you, Lauren. I saw the teacher in you come out. I'm like, whip it out, Lauren. As Lauren highlighted, this is really an awesome opportunity. We did not have this, and I so wish I had this. I think only recently, when you're going to speak at conferences or you're applying for extra funding for a bursary, that you have to actually do something called a bio. And I remember, man, Tracy, I wish I had those humanities skills where I can quickly write up a bio without having to think of it. But now I thank ChatGPT, my winner. Guys, ChatGPT has come through for your girl. Anyway, let me not digress. Before we go to our Q&A segment, which is going to happen in the next 10 minutes, so please stay with us. We have invited Bongi Tlangisa, who's also a COFC alumni, and he recently graduated from at the University of the Free State. Bongi, welcome. I'm really excited to hear your story. Personally being part of that story, I think you really have a significant story to tell, just thinking about your journey as a student. Bongi, please introduce yourself to the students and maybe talk to us a little bit about your journey at the UFS.
Thank you, Evodia. Just so to introduce myself, my name is Bongi Ndlangisa, as Evodia has introduced me, and I am a junior risk analyst at one of South Africa's banks, and I got my qualifications. I'm a former GOFC. I'm a GOFC alumni, GOFC for life. And I graduated in 2020 in my first qualification in Bachelor of Science in Econometrics. And I then went on to pursue my honors through Evodia's push to go to my honors in mathematical statistics at the University of the Free State as well. So that's a bit of background regarding my educational experience or qualifications that I have. And yeah, as a banker, I am a junior risk analyst. So what my job entails is basically to look at risk, the risk that the organization carries, and be able to recognize, respond, and monitor effectively. But yeah, I'll stop there for now. Thank you, Odia.
Okay, so what does a risk analyst do day to day? So talk to us about what a typical week looks like for you.
All right. So I am in a rotational graduate program. So I have had two experiences of what a risk analyst does in two different areas. In the first area that I worked as a model developer. So not an actual runway model, but a statistical model developer, where we basically evaluated or we developed models, PD, probability of default, scorecards, that's what we call them. And basically with my role over there in that area, how it looked is basically on a Monday, I log into my laptop, I get into SAS, I code, and then on a Friday, we usually have meetings with our stakeholders where we present our findings and we do our engagement there and there. So basically on a weekly basis, that's how my day looked like, and interacted with my team. My team within that team was quite small. So we would here and there just have check-in engagement, to see where we are in terms of work progress and everything. But now I'm in operational risk management. And it does look a bit different in that we have a lot of stakeholders that we engage with, given the fact that there's quite a lot of risk everywhere. Even waking up, for example, is a risk in itself. And you put controls such as when you get in your car, you put your seatbelts, for example, just make an example of the type of risk that we could face as normal human beings as well. But yeah, there's quite a lot of engagement, a lot of meetings. I open my calendar. There's usually meetings that are scheduled within my calendar. But what I do as well is just to, schedule time for myself to work in between the meetings. I'm sure Evodia and the panelists are very familiar with your calendar being packed with meetings and having to juggle work in between there. But that Evodia, that's then how my calendar sort of look like on a weekly basis.
Death by meetings, Belinda, I agree. Oh my gosh. So for the students who think, oh my gosh, this conversation is so long, welcome to real life. So this is what you literally do from the time you wake up, not really wake up. If you have kids, you have meetings all the time. But literally when you get to work to when you leave, you are in meetings all the time. So don't be charmed by Ipileng saying she dreamed of her office and she got into the office. What she didn't tell you is that office is full of meetings. So Bongi, I want you maybe to jump in here and talk about, I mean, you worked as a student, all the way from being a RC, a prime, working with SecureTheGrad. How has those experiences helped you to be able to cope in the current work environment?
I must say, I have or was rather even from first year was quite intentional about, I think it's Belinda that spoke about skills gap and being able to identify the skills that you need, to be able to get to the career that you want. So right then I actually enrolled for actuarial science in my first year, which I then later dropped, but realized that in order to become an actuary, one of the exams that you need is around communication. So you need to position yourself to be able to communicate with people, communication skills, and be able to explain difficult concepts and bring them to, a layman's term, that you can, explain to your grandmother or just anyone on the streets. So I realized that I didn't particularly have that communication skill. And I needed, so I'm a twin, by the way. So I'm the quiet twin. So my twin used to do all the talking for me. So my twin, as I entered university, he was not there, and he was not there to hold my hand and talk for me. So one of the things that I did, which I think they also benefited me within the workplace or work area that I'm in now, is to actively look for things that will push me out of my comfort zone and get that skill that I'm looking for. So, for example, in my first year of studies, I was part of an association called the Association's Actuarial Society, as well as the Mathematical Statistics Society. I ran for RC in my first year in the best residence, Conlaris, and became the RC there. And there's quite a number of skills that I actually picked up along the way, such as communication skills, leadership, being able to manage your time effectively. I think as students, I think traditional students and what I've been observing in these days is that students enter universities to get their qualifications and then they leave, and there is no they're not exploring that option of becoming a holistic student, where you are doing juggling many things. And one of the things that I have to realize within the working environment that I'm in now is that I had to juggle meetings, juggle emails, juggle talking to stakeholders, and that skill you don't necessarily learn after you leave university and you enter the job, but you sort of craft that as you are on your university journey. And the nice thing about university is that you do have the time. You do have the time to put up your hand and say, I want to be an RC, I want to be a mentor, or simply a student assistant, which is one of the things that I actually did. It encouraged me to speak with ASABA, one of the associations that I was leading as president as well. I had the opportunity to, engage with multiple stakeholders, deal with suppliers as well, which prepares me to be able to speak. But then lastly, one of the big experiences that I've had that has helped me and aided me within my corporate experience or first year of working in corporate is being part of the other side of, in SecureTheGrad. I was actually part of a SecureTheGrad. I was there when SecureTheGrad was birthed, and I was a research assistant with Evodia who identified who identified that I could be a valuable resource while I was actually a prime at the residence, which she was where Evodia was the residence head. Be able to come into that space and speak to people, getting into meetings where I felt, oh my God, like am I worth it? I'm just a research assistant and I'm seeing Lauren in a meeting. I'm in meetings with Google and I'm like, these are focus area heads, like big names out there, chief assistant directors. Am I really worth sitting in this meeting and, being able to contribute? But you're not going to be able to find those opportunities or chances if you don't put your hand up. If you sit in class and you just attend and not raise your hand, I think one of the questions that came in from the STG twins is that does your institution actually prepare you to become employable? And I think in my response, I just want to say your university experience is what you make out of it. You have your degree, it's there, you have your paper, but whether you become employable or not, I think that's on you. And yeah, let me just park it there.
Give that twin a million. Like, I didn't pay him to say that. I just want to put it out there. I didn't pay him to say this. I didn't even recommend that Bongi becomes part of the chat. So Bongi, I think a lot of wisdom coming out there. And ladies and gentlemen, one of our hashtag STG twins. I see there's also STG twins. I think it's the girls I met outside the library the other day. They're like, we love STG. So I'm like, we name you the STG twins. So I think from one twin to another, those are very wise words, and I hope our audience takes away, this for themselves. So university experience is what you make of it, and we are definitely here to support you in that experience. Now, the Q&A segment has opened up, ladies and gents. So how it works is you can put up you can raise your virtual hand. Our technical team in the background will enable your microphone, and this is your chance to shoot your shot with any of our guest speakers for today. So let us see who is ready to get an opportunity. Remember to shoot your shot. So while we sort of waiting for the questions to come, I want to, so some of the students might be feeling it's a bit late. I'm maybe doing a master's, I'm in my second master's degree, and I still don't know where to start, or I don't think what I've been working towards academically is what I want to do professionally. What would your advice be? Maybe let's start with you, Tracy, and then we move to Ipileng.
Thanks. Sorry about that. I think my advice is, if you're not sure that it's really what you want to do, I think the big message that's coming out of the chat is go and speak to a career advisor. I did not take that opportunity up when I was at university, and I really do regret not speaking to somebody, not doing work experience, not doing internships to figure out what it is that I like. But that truly is the best way to figure out what it is that you want to do. And I think the other thing I would say is, if it's really not what you want to do, what can you take away from it? Do you need to pivot, or are there skills that you can go and apply in a way that does make you happy, that does really sort of speak to your passion?
Thank you for that, Tracy. And maybe let me move to you, Ipileng, as well. You worked for several years in corporate and decided to switch and become an entrepreneur. What made that switch for you, and what advice would you give to someone who wants to make that change?
Yeah, so I think change is always good, and the important thing is to know when it's time to actually do that. So if you find yourself in a space where, number one, you are not fulfilling your purpose, or you are not feeling like you're being fulfilled in a particular space, where there is no or limited growth, then that's most probably the time to make the change. Is it scary? Yes, definitely. But absolutely worth it, because the opportunities are endless. And I think that's the advice that I would give to all the students, to say there are so many opportunities out there. Don't box yourself in a specific route. If you think that route that you've taken is not working, take a turn and explore other things as well. It's about taking those big risks that you really don't know what's on the other side, but it's so fulfilling because you know that you have actually done something, you have actually taken the step, and so many other good things can come out of it as well.
Awesome. One day I might just, I like the comfort of knowing that on the 30th, ingenile. I think that's one of the big risks, or one of those, inhibitors for some of the people that want to pivot into entrepreneurship. That comfort of a sure and guaranteed income at the end of the month, right? So, Belinda, Elaine spoke about taking the steps. So, for the students that are registered at the University of the Free State, how can they take those? So, what are those steps that students can take in trying to explore and choose a career path?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I mean, it's your option whether you want to go for a career advising session, and you can book that with Career Services, but there's also career advisors at the Center for Teaching and Learning. That falls under Gugu's department, Bongi, as mentioned earlier. So there's that option, or else, I have posted it earlier in the chat as well. We do have a career development program, and it's a self-paced program. So you go onto Blackboard and you complete it in your own time, but it shouldn't take you more than 2 weeks. And that 2 weeks is not 2 weeks constantly being on there. You can do it really, like if you really reflect, you can do it probably in 2 days. I won't suggest that because you need to first reflect a little bit about your career. But really in the program, the first part focuses on self-knowledge, self-awareness, who you are, what is your values, your career interests and things like that. You're also rating your graduate attributes on the scale of how confident you feel in that. And then in the second part, you do a lot of career exploration so that you have a plan A, B, and a C, so that you are ready for graduation. Like if plan A doesn't work out, what is my plan B? And that just lessens the anxiety for students about what am I supposed to do after graduation? What is next? I feel this amongst the students who have come to see me in the last 2 weeks as well. There's anxiety amongst our students. And I really just want to get that message across today. If you only hear one thing from me today, it is relax. We've got you. We've got so much support. And if you are really in that boat where you feel like you're alone, you're against the whole world, especially regarding your career, just pop me an email. Pop me an email. I'm there for you. We are there for you. And we will rather have a conversation with you. Please don't, we are living in an era where there's so much technology and information out there, and we seem to listen to everybody. But if we listen to everybody, you would have to complete 7 more degrees, go for 500 different work experience before you will figure out your life. And it doesn't have to be that difficult. So rather come and talk to us so that we can really just put you.
Thank you so much, Belinda. And I can attest to that. The university has an array of support, everything from academic support, wellness, registration support. For the seniors, STG is the plug. We've got A-step tutorials. There's EDD around pimping your CV, your profile, not just writing student at University of the Free State, doing something that's attractive, that will really put you out there. So I see many of the questions have been answered in the chats, and I think it's also have come through here, and maybe that's why we're not having anyone raise their hands. This is the conversation must have been that good at this point. Usually we have to ask those who could not get an opportunity to raise their voice in the webinar to, sort of join the next webinar. I maybe want to give an opportunity. I see we do have a hand up. Bongi.
I think there was a question earlier on, I'm not sure if it was covered, but by Mpumelelo, I think he or she was asking about should the job experience, so should a company want experience, should that experience be job specific experience, or is any experience considered?
Thanks for that, Bongi. I have missed it. So any of our panels can take it up. So do companies want specific skills or requirements, or does anything count? If that's sort of the gist of the question. Belinda?
Yeah, can I jump in there? I think it depends for which position you want to go for. A graduate program, internships, not necessary. And the example that I always use is let's just let me not give it a company name this time. I will maybe be fired. So a company that has a service desk, for instance, where you are phoning in for customer services. If somebody phones in and they are just very rude and they are impatient because something happened at this company and they're not, they don't like the service that they've received and they're starting to take it out on you as a customer services person, for instance, the question that I usually ask to the people with work experience and the ones without is, what will you do? People without work experience will probably tell me, I will put the phone down. Like, nobody's going to shout at me. Or they will tell me, I will just put it through to the next person, or I will try to tell the person, calm down. Now imagine that conversations. And then the people with work experience will say, no, I will first apologize for the customer doing that, because they start to realize that I'm part of the company. And that is just the gist of why companies are looking for work experience. They want to see that you know at least how to deal with people, that you don't just bring the problem to the office. You are actually starting to critically think about what can be the solution for this and starting to think on your own feet. So that's the only reason why companies want work experience, especially then if it's a graduate program or internship. But the higher you start to aim, of course, then work experience starts to count, and then it needs to be relevant to your.
I think that really for me sort of summarizes that, Lauren. And Ipileng, well, just before Lauren speaks as well, after Lauren, maybe I'm hoping that you could also weigh in now that you are yourself an employer. What would you typically look for if you had to employ any of our graduates? Lauren, and then to Ipileng.
Thank you so much, Evodia. I think what we always tell students, and we start with this in UFSS already, is the value of a degree, any degree. It brings a certain sophistication to you, right? You should not be exiting university the same person that entered. If you have something has gone very, very wrong, you are supposed to grow and develop here and walk away with a set of skills that can be used in almost any workplace. And if you can articulate that really, there are so many generic skills that you are acquiring or developing at university, and those are the graduate attributes. And you make that applicable to the position that you are applying for, you most likely will stand a chance. Many companies advertise for a B degree. They don't even often say a relevant B degree. It's a B degree because it's already bringing with it an array of skills. We're expecting you have some digital skills if you're a graduate, right? So you should be able to work on a computer. You should be able to write. You should be able to speak. You should be able to solve problems. So those are the kinds of things that at least at your entry-level jobs you should have. Like Belinda said, the higher you aim, obviously you cannot be a project manager without like 2 to 3 or even 5 years experience. A people manager without a certain a number of years of experience. There was a question earlier that Evodia, you asked me, and I forgot to answer it with EDED, and that was, what if you have nothing? And I think there was a student who said, oh shucks, I'm now so stressed because I have nothing on my CV. What if you have nothing? Okay, you still have this year, right? And next year. It's not the end of the world. We have had a few students in EDED that I saw getting paler and paler as we get to the activity where we take an audit, we do a skills audit, and then we go, all right, how fair do you think your competency is in the specific skill? And you can really just see the blood leaving the face because they realize, I haven't done any work experience. Relax, like Belinda said, it's not too late to start. You still have the rest of this year. There's LinkedIn learning opportunities. Guys, even if you go and waitress, go do something. I think Ipileng also gave so many nice examples of what you can do in your community. Go and volunteer. Just as a belief, get something on the CV and get some experience that you can use as examples in an interview. I think that's more important than popping it on the CV. It's great, it's helpful. But what that shows an employer, if you're a student who has work experience, is you can manage your time. That's what it shows an employer. It shows them, if you're a student that has failed modules, but then takes it again and passes it, right? And they ask you for your academic record, it shows resilience. So you need to, in an interview, be able to tell that story of how you can introspect, right? You've got that self-reflection. You can look at what you do well and what you don't, and how you are interested in growing. I think there was a colleague who said, someone asked her in an interview, and this is a question often asked, so don't maybe copy the answer exactly, but someone asked her, what's your 5-year plan? Where do you want to be in 5 years? And she said, I want to be better. That's my 5-year plan. I want to be better. I want to grow and I want to develop. It's not specific. I just want to know that if I look back, there must have been improvement. And I think that's what is important when you're applying for work.
Sure. Very, very interesting. I was going to make a joke, but I realized it's not time for that joke. It's maybe too early. So let me move to Ipileng. Ipileng, as an employer, now that you've had experience, you've been a student yourself, what would you look for?
So Evodia, it's really about adding value. So for me, it's about what problem are you able to solve, and how well can you solve that problem? Nobody wants somebody who's always complaining. We know the challenges that we're facing, but it needs to be somebody with a great attitude, someone who looks at things in a positive light and actually comes up with suggestions of making it better. So it's also about excellence. I think how you do the task that is set before you says a lot as well. If you're gonna be sweeping the street or the pavement outside, do it exceptionally well so that there's no dirt left at all. That speaks to your character. That speaks to your skills and how seriously you've taken the opportunity that I've given you to actually give you a chance in employing you or giving you that opportunity to work in the workspace. So I think attitude summarizes it all, and coming with the attitude of saying, I have something to bring on the table. I am an asset to your business and not a liability.
Very, very true. And Bongi, I maybe want to shift the conversation to you, someone who's recently started to work, and many of these, the distance between your experience as a student and the world of work is very close. We know for that bank that you work with a particular color that might just be here at the back, but there are many colors at the back, what do you think set you apart, especially because we know that brand, and you can attest to this, the brand power also says something or gives you an edge when you're applying. I know with the graduate programs, almost all university or students from top-ranked universities to some of the lower-ranked universities apply. And we know by virtue of where students come from and the brand association of their universities give them an advantage in these applications. Coming from the University of the Free State, I think we ranked number 9. What would you say has set you apart, or you believe set you apart from the thousands of applicants and some that come from top institutions? What sets you apart?
I really do think that I've quite been an involved person. I think it speaks to what Ipileng has touched on around, being, doing also what you do, doing it well. But also just the experience that I've gotten throughout the university. I have been quite a lot involved within quite a lot of things within the university. And one of the things that I think, even evaluating from the role that I got now, in comparing it to the roles that didn't get, by the way, I didn't have an Excel sheet where I managed my job applications, rejected, psychometrics, everything. I had a really long spreadsheet that I will speak to the importance then of why I had the spreadsheet as well. But just comparing my very first interview, I did it in bed. I was in bed, I was in a call, and it was a telephonic call. I was in bed. My parents were asking me, "Why are you in bed when an interview? What are you doing?" But comparing it then, that experience to the experience I had when I interviewed for the current role that I'm in now, or the graduate program, is that back then I didn't know how to even articulate myself properly. Yes, I had the experience of working as a student assistant, being various leadership positions and everything, but I didn't know how to articulate that properly. I didn't do that self introspection as to what value am I bringing to the table, what skills have I learned from everything, including my studies, to say what did I learn from here and what skills did I learn that I can quantify and be able to communicate to the people that are interviewing. I think firstly that's just one aspect in terms of comparing, and that I believe set me apart. But going back to the Excel sheet, I think having that Excel sheet helped me to then do that introspection to say, where did I go wrong and where did I go right? Because if you're being honest, most organizations, some of them in my list, didn't even come back to say, Bongi, you didn't do so well here, or you did well here. I had to do that introspection and learnings myself. But I think so. But also speaking, I think having the speaker or having access through you, Evodia, to one of your friends to say, within the asset management industry, because that's an industry that I couldn't even get into myself, into a graduate program, is that what practical experience have I done to ensure that I am one step higher than a UCT grad who probably has a pool of companies waiting for them, UJ, VET students, where companies come and pitch their stories to them. So what can I do, was the question to say, to set me apart from them. And my story, I think, and that's the power of storytelling and being able to articulate your story as well. To say, what is my personal story? What challenges have I failed? I was never a straight A student. I failed. I changed degrees from actuarial to econometrics. So my academic record was not as glamorous as some academic records are. But being able to really come out there, know what am I bringing to the table? It's something that I think really set me apart. But I think also preparation. If you don't prepare, there's a saying that says, what is it? It says prepare to fail. If you don't prepare, you prepare to fail. Something along those lines. But I think the gist of preparation does come at very highly. We were having a conversation with a colleague about interview skills to say, yo, you remember, like, my interview skill was not that good. Like, yo, I think I could have improved there or whatever. But it all boils down to preparation, doing your company research, which is one of the things that we're talking about, how to actually go about. Do you go to a website and say, oh, company X was founded in 1993, and that's what you're gonna say in the interview? Or you actually gonna say, oh, go to the company's website, look at the job profile and say, hey, this is what you guys are looking for, and I think I'm best suited for this position because I bring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is how that has prepared me. Going back to Ipileng's point, this is how this has prepared me for the job X. But yeah.
That is awesome. I didn't know you had a spreadsheet. I think that's something maybe I would want to do. Man, wait, stop putting so much pressure on us. But listen, that is exactly what sets you apart. Karabo, you have an opportunity to ask, and ask that the technical team I'm going to allow. Karabo, we've enabled your microphone. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the opportunity to ask this question. My question for today is about applying for a job. I'm a master's student in pharmacology. I would like to know that if you, I've been applying for jobs, but getting negative responses, rejections. So I don't know if it's the way I structure my CV, because I have a problem of, I think it's a problem of CV, because normally when the job outline says they are looking for this type of experience and everything, I'll structure my CV, then send my CV only, because they don't really state which documents they require. They just say, no, this is the skills that we need, this is the experience that we need, but they don't really state which documents they require. So I want a clarification today that which supporting documents do they require? Do they require a CV and plus your achievements, plus your certificates as well? Because they don't really highlight them in the job description on what they want. So I want clarification on that. And should the documents be certified, or should they be just normal documents?
Thank you, Karabo. Belinda, can I refer that question to you?
Yeah, thank you for that. So I would actually like, this is now where my passion comes in. I want to see your CV. That's what I want to do. I would like to see if it's structured in the right way, if you are addressing all the advert basically. But yes, you need to upload your CV usually, and then definitely a cover letter or a motivation letter. Why would you want to have this position? Why would you be a great fit? And then depending on which institution, but at our university, for instance, if you are applying here or even in a government position, they will ask you to also attach a copy of your ID. But there are certain things to have a look at, so don't copy your ID in a full color page, because fraud is something that can happen. You don't want that. Certified, not necessary, because that they will start to do that, especially when they are giving you a contract and you are now signing up with a company. Then all those documents becomes very important. Please don't try to give them a CV with all your certificates of everything that you've completed. You need to capture that experience in your CV with words, not by attaching all the certificates. But that is why LinkedIn is such a great platform where you can go and have a comprehensive CV about everything that you've done. But don't try to squeeze all of that in the CV. Your CV needs to be focused on the job advert. And EDED, if you are a student on campus, EDED, they bring us also in so that we can show you what companies are looking for and how do they capture and decide on the 5 people that they're going to invite for the interview, for instance. So that's why but the first thing in my head is I want to.
Thank you for that, Belinda. I almost spoke with my mic off, kind of for those mistakes in the last webinar. Thank you for that. And Karabo, I hope that is very helpful. Please email us your CV. The email address is right there in the chat, and the career service colleagues will be more than happy to assist. Ladies and gents, I cannot believe that we've come to the end of our conversation. To the students, if you're a University of the Free State student, we just want to encourage you, do track your success to graduation and employability. And we've got a couple of awesome programs that are running to help you do that. So our GPS contact center numbers are there. Contact us on 051-401-9111 and press option 2 to speak to one of our success coaches. These are trained coaches to help you look at where are you on your journey towards graduation. Whether you're undergrad or postgrad, we are willing to help, and they will direct you to the right resources. Secondly, remember, Belinda also highlighted around, go speak to an advisor if you're not sure on how your academic qualifications will link to a job. Go have those exploratory conversations with one of our advisors. If you're on the Bloemfontein campus, you can email them at advising@ufs.ac.za. Kwakwa campus, advising QQ@ufs.ac.za. And for those of you who are on our South campus, advising SC@ufs.ac.za. Alternatively, you can call us on 051-401-2444. And for those of you who prefer WhatsApp, like me, you can WhatsApp us on 087-240-6370. Everything is up on the screen if you've missed us. For advising, you can also find them on Facebook. Remember, if you need module-specific support, we have tutoring absolutely for free with A-Step. Just email us, A-Step info@ufs.ac.za. Alternatively, you can also WhatsApp us if you need one-on-one tutorial support on any of our University of the Free State campuses. Also remember to update your contact details, guys. We are not Amashonisa ex-boyfriend you are running away from, a debt that you made last week, and you're trying to mice and ghost someone. Ghost everybody except the University of the Free State. Our GPS coaches have been calling you, so it's not a scam. It is a real. So the university really cares about you reaching graduation on time. And I know for many of you, graduation might be far off, but we care about you passing that next test. We care about you getting your mental health in a good state. So please pick up the call. And if you can't, let us know when we can call you back. Renale airtime galo, guys. Like the airtime is a lot here. So we are ready to call you when you're available to pick up the phone. Remember to complete the evaluation so that we can make sure this experience is better the next time. If you miss some of the session or you just want to go back to the STG Wisdom Pulse, do watch the recording on YouTube or Blackboard if you're University of the Free State student, and do follow us on Instagram. We have over 1,000 followers. So shout out to the tribe that's been following us. Ladies and gentlemen, we promised that we will be picking winners. So to our crew in the background, can we please announce our webinar winners today? And congratulations to Relebogile, Olerato, and Uratile. Hey, those are the STG twins. Congratulations to the twins for winning. And I think it's the second time winning here on STG. Mpumelelo Nolwande Butelezi. And I think that's a Kestel student right there. And Debuchang. Congratulations for participating and being such awesome participants or audiences in our webinar today. To our wonderful guests, oh my goodness, where do I start to thank you? Thank you so much for authentically sharing your stories with us and also talking about life happens, whether you're a straight A student or you've had dips and turns or you're undecided like some of us, there is an outcome if we look at where you are in your careers today. So thank you for making your valuable time available and sharing your pearls of wisdom with us. Remember, this is not the last time that you get to hear from us. Do engage on our social media platforms or send us a message on WhatsApp. If you'd like to become part of the tribe, look out at Career Services page on some of the awesome opportunities that we will be releasing in the second semester. This is the last online episode for us for the semester before we take a break and we help you prepare for those exams. From myself and the crew, as well as our guest speakers, have a lovely afternoon and go secure that grad.